The Dallas Mavericks. I didn't mean to open the video like that. I just find a lot of the YouTuber voiceover videos, they do very dramatic openings. Anyway, in today's video, we're going to talk about the Dallas Mavericks beating the Jazz last night, and we're also going to preview the Dallas Mavericks versus the Phoenix Suns. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get this started. Before y'all even say anything about my jersey, if you don't like it that I bought a Kristaps Porzingis jersey for like 70% off, you could buy me a Luka Doncic jersey. I'll accept all donations or all gifts. Just hit me up on Instagram, or you can send it to me at my PayPal. Anyway, all that stuff will be linked below. Anyway, let's talk about the Dallas Mavericks and the Jazz. Dallas Mavericks attended a funeral last night. We got away with a win. That last possession was bogus because it was a moving screen. So Bojan, whatever his name, should have never had a last-second shot to take. Missed it. Either way, we're leaving with a dub. We won the series. First series in 11 years. That's big time. Big time. That's a big win, man. You can't even undermine how big that win was. Second, the Suns and the Pelicans. The Pelicans gave everything the Suns can handle, and they handled them in 6. And I think both of these teams are coming into this next series seeing the different nuances of what they could be dealing with, right? The Suns didn't expect a 9 seed to take them to 6 games, and the Mavericks had finally overcome a monkey that was on their back. You know, Luka can't get out of the first round. Luka got out of the first round. So now this is going to be hella interesting. Now both teams are battle-tested in different realms, and they're about to collide and being some of the best defensive teams with some of the best offensive creators. You got a point guard in Chris Paul, and you got a generational guard-like point guard talent in Luka Doncic. So it is going to be fun to see. Who knows how this series is going to go, but I just think it's going to be one of the best series in the semifinals round. All right, so let's talk about Luka's matchups. Luka's matchups against the Suns is going to be very interesting. Right off the cusp of the win last night, a lot of the Phoenix Suns fans were talking about how Michael Bridges is going to shut down Luka, or Jay Crowder. I think Charles Barkley said Jay Crowder is going to shut Luka down. And I find this all very interesting. I understand that they are good defenders. I just don't think Luka is getting shut down. And I don't think anyone is stopping Luka. There's just nobody that's going to stop Luka. Need to remind you what Luka did against Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So Luka is going to have 3 days rest before we play on Monday in Phoenix. And the majority of his defenders are going to be Bridges, Chris Paul, I'm pretty sure at times, DeAndre Ayton, Booker, Jay Crowder. I'm pretty sure Luka's going to get matchups with the majority of those guys. But I do think that the primary defender that the Phoenix Suns are going to want on Luka is either going to be Jay Crowder or Bridges. Now, my thing is Luka has advantages to both of those matchups. And I do think overall, Luka is going to hunt a matchup. He's not just going to allow Bridges and Jay Crowder to guard him. And if it's Jay Crowder, Luka has the full advantages all the way. There's nothing Jay Crowder can do other than probably pose a defensive threat in the post. But I just don't think anyone on the Phoenix Suns is going to come to stop Luka. He's going to hunt matchups. He's going to hunt Chris Paul. He's probably going to hunt campaign. He's probably going to want to ISO against Ayton. He is just not going to let Bridges or Jay Crowder. He probably wouldn't mind Jay Crowder guarding him, but if I'm a betting man knowing from a strategic game, you're not going to let the best defender guard you all the time. You're just not going to let that happen. And Luka's not going to let that happen. Neither is Kid. They're going to strategically go after their weakest defender and allow Luka to do some work on him. And then if that's the case, and if they want to double Luka, you're going to go and give it to Brunson, right? So I think the matchups, they have good defenders. I just don't think any of the matchups scare Luka or scare us as fans or just scare the Mavs organization as far as anyone being able to stop Luka Doncic. Because the guy that could potentially do that would be Ben Simmons, but let's not even talk about that guy. All right, so let's talk about Chris Paul's matchups against the Dallas Mavericks and also Jalen Brunson's. So they're going to be the quintessential point guards to this team. They're going to be matching up against each other. If I'm the Mavericks, I'm definitely going to try to put Brunson on Chris Paul early on in the game and see how he fares. And if he doesn't fare too well, then you definitely want to go to Dodo or Bullock or even Dinwiddie to deal with Chris Paul. But it's going to be a tough guard, especially in the pick and roll actions. You're going to get Ayton coming up, depending on who is playing. I think Dwight Powell's going to have a better series this series with Luka Doncic back and being able to be such a leaper. And with Ayton doing those pick and rolls for Chris Paul, and Chris Paul getting to his mid-range spot and taking off and shooting that damn shot and shooting perfect like he did last night, I think there's going to be something that the Mavericks have to do. And I don't think he's going to deal with matchups per se. I think he's going to deal with a lot of double teams. And that's just me. I would approach dealing with Chris Paul in that sense that you have to double that guy. You got to force the ball out of his hands. You have to get the ball out of that guy's hands, right? Because if he gets going like he did against the Pelicans, him going 15 for 15 against us or 14 for 14 is just going to be your recipe for disaster, and we'll lose those games. So we have to disrupt him. We got to get him out of his rhythm. We don't have pests like Alvarado on our team necessarily, and I don't know if we have that great of a defender like Jones was, or Herb Jones, whatever his name is. He was a really good defender. Pelicans did an amazing job getting those two guys. Dodo is great. Dodo has length. Dodo plays really good defense. Herb Jones just showed you a really different level of defending Chris Paul. So for the Mavericks, you're going to defend that pick and roll. Either you're going to sell out on Chris Paul and allow him to throw lobs to Ayton, and if you're going to put Kleber out there or Dwight Powell, they can hold their own necessarily as far as like defending, but Ayton is a superior talent. But again, I'll take my chances on Ayton being in the paint and being the main primary scorer of the team. But Chris Paul is going to be dealing with Brunson, Bullock, and Dorian Finney-Smith. All those guys are not going to be able to shut down Chris Paul, so you're going to have to sell out for him. And Brunson, I think the Suns are in a predicament here now, because if you sell out for Luka and you allow Brunson to be solo dolo by himself, Jalen Brunson currently in the playoffs and Luka Doncic, they give me not to the same level and not to the same extent, but they in their Maverick version, in a different version, they remind me of a LeBron and Kyrie in a way. You got this tall, 6'7", offensive, creative mastermind, and then you have this smaller guard with capabilities that not many guards display. Jalen Brunson has amazing footwork. Did you not see what he did to Rudy Gobert last night?
Off the drive and kick. Brunson. Hezzy. Brunson. Beautiful fake and pull up.
That was wild. And Luka Doncic, he's just difficult to deal with. That guy is big, strong, do whatever he wants on the court. I'm saying if the Suns want to sell out on Luka, you're going to leave Jalen Brunson by himself. And at that point, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Bridges and Jay Crowder dealing with Luka. And if you leave Jalen Brunson by himself against Chris Paul, I don't see Chris Paul being able to stop a Jalen Brunson. I don't see DeAndre Ayton being able to stop a Jalen Brunson. So Jalen Brunson is going to have very favorable mismatches in this series, especially if they're shutting or selling the house for Luka Doncic. So both of these players are going to have advantages, especially Chris Paul, especially Jalen Brunson, and that one key matchup, because I don't think they're going to match up against each other, but that matchup in itself and how both teams utilize them is going to be big. It's going to be massive, massive, massive in this series. All right, let's talk about Devin Booker's matchups, other than the Kardashians. His matchups versus the Dallas Mavericks are going to be interesting. I don't know who they're going to put on him. Either you could put Dorian Finney-Smith on him. He's been a really great defender against Mitchell. Or you could put Reggie Bullock on him. The thing is, I'm pretty sure they're going to go to some pick and roll action, but that's going to be mainly for Chris Paul, because Chris Paul and Luka Doncic, they kind of have the same games. A lot of pick and roll moves, and who knows what they're going to do. You already know Chris Paul's going to go for the mid-range shot, and Luka's probably going to go for a step back. But Booker, I feel like he's a good ISO guy. Definitely can create his own shot. And I think for me, he's going to be dealing with Bullock and Dorian Finney-Smith. There's no point not to put either one of them on Booker, because the other one's going to have to entertain Chris Paul. Now, who's Jalen Brunson going to deal with? I don't know. It is going to be a matchup hell for the Mavericks when it comes to Devin Booker, especially if he's on. Especially if it's, what was it, his quad or hamstring? I don't know what he injured. But if he's all right in that realm, he's going to be a tough guard. And he's mainly going to be facing those two guys. I mean, I'm pretty sure he'll get some Luka Doncic matchups. He'll get some Jalen Brunson. He'll get some Kleber action. He'll get some Dwight Powell and eventually some Dinwiddie. But for the majority of the time, he's going to be dealing with Dodo. He's going to be dealing with Bullock. And if anything, I heard a nickname called him the Bulldozer. That's pretty good one. as far as the tandem of Bullock and Dorian Finney-Smith. But that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for either of them to guard that guy. And if he's on fire, you already know he catches it and he just goes off. So it's going to be a tough matchup for the Mavericks. The thing is, knowing how Kid runs the game, I don't know if he's going to choose to sell out against Booker or sell out against Chris Paul. If it's me, I'm selling out on Chris Paul and I'm selling out on Booker and trying to get that matchup with Ayton. I'd rather Ayton takes 50 shots in this game from the paint, because if he makes half of them, that's only, what, out of 50 shots, 25 field goals, 25 times 2, it's only 50 points. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Anyway, the thing is, I'd rather Ayton have to deal and carry most of the load as opposed to Booker or Chris Paul going off. I say you sell out on both of those guys versus Ayton. It's my 2 cents. All right, so now we're going to talk about the Mavericks' keys to success against the Suns and how they could ultimately win this series. And the way they win this series is more of that Brunson that we got against the Jazz when Luka was sitting, and more of Luka Doncic being Luka and unlocking another tier. We need to see Luka be not only the best player on the court, but a dominant player on the court. I'm talking like LeBron James versus Boston Celtics from a couple of years ago type of performance. You need to see Luka play on a different level. You need to see Luka not only cement his superstar status, but you need to see him add to it, and you need to see him solidify himself as one of the best players. We already know he is one of the best players, but this is on a grand scale. This is in front of everybody. This is an opportunity for him to really put everything on the line and show that he's that guy. This is definitely a different team than what the Phoenix Suns used to play against early in the year when they went 3-0 against the Mavericks. And even when Luka Doncic didn't play in the first 2 games, they took the Suns all the way to the 4th. And the Suns are a very clutch fourth quarter team, and the Mavericks are as well. So this is going to come down to the fourth quarters of all these games. And again, the team that performs the best in the fourth quarter is going to win this series. Now, you would give the edge to CP3, but I think in this instance, for the Mavs to really win this series, it's going to come down to their defense that they have been displaying. But they have to be even more aggressive defensively. And it's going to come down to Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson and Dinwiddie running that fourth quarter and showing that they can actually get a win. You have to get wins in the fourth quarter against this team. This is like the Suns unlock a different part of themselves in that fourth quarter. And for the Mavericks, you're going to have to do that in 4 games and 4 fourth quarters. You're going to do that. And that's a tall task to ask for against such a well-oiled machine, what would I say? A very consistent. The Suns remind me a little bit of the Spurs in the way of how they play the game. They share it. They have really good shot selection. They have good players in every single position. They're your quintessential traditional basketball team. They really are. You have a small point guard, a really good number 2, and a dominant center. Well, not dominant, but a really good center, and you have good wing defenders. They have the recipes to being champions this year. And for the Mavericks to beat them, they have that too. It's just Luka Doncic is the greatest equalizer, and if he could really step up and show what he got in those fourth quarters along with Brunson, then the Mavs have a chance to take this, and it's going to come down to those 4 quarters. I can't sugarcoat it any other way. And now let's talk about the keys to success for the Suns to win this series. For the Suns to win this series, they just have to play their game. They have to play their game and hope that when they get into the fourth quarter, their execution that they have displayed throughout the season, right? To me, the Phoenix Suns remind me of Bret Hart of the WWF back in the day. The excellence of execution, right? Like the greatest that ever was, the greatest that ever is, the greatest that ever will be. The season that they had just told you a traditional style of basketball, traditional style of lineups. The way that they played and the way they stayed consistent throughout the year when Chris Paul was out or when Devin Booker was out, they just played great. They played great. They're a great team. They have all the ingredients to be great. Cam Payne coming off the bench is an issue. You got Cameron Payne and Cam Johnson coming off the bench is a big problem. I think they could go 10 deep as far as their players are concerned. They have a really, really good squad. As opposed to the Mavericks, they could probably go 7, maybe 8 deep, with Bertans and Green being 7 and 8. So it's going to be extremely interesting as far as how this series goes. And I think for the Suns to win, it's just they have to execute in the fourth quarter. If they execute in the fourth quarter with high efficiency, they're going to win. And I probably already said this before, but whoever wins this series is going to come down to the fourth quarter. All right, so my prediction for this series. It's tough being a Mavericks fan, wanting to do this, and wanting to say the Mavs, because I do want to say the Mavs. I was watching some footage of like their last couple of games against the Mavericks, the Phoenix Suns, and the Suns are a good team. They should win this series, but I just feel like Luka Doncic, this is his time to not only step up and show out, but to dominate and to send a message. And I think for the Mavericks to do that, they have to win this series, and I think they can. And if they do win this series, it will not be in 7. It has to be in 6. You have to win Game 6 at home. So my prediction is Luka Doncic is just too much for the Suns. Reggie Bullock and Dorian Finney-Smith figure something out and guarding Booker. And CP3, unless he has perfect games every single game of this series, like he did against the Pelicans, then an extra missed shot from him is going to help the Mavericks a lot. I think Ayton's going to have a really difficult time trying to decide whether to guard Luka or run to the corner 3. I know the Suns are going to play a lot better defensively, but again, Luka Doncic is just the greatest equalizer. And are you going to guard him one-on-one and not double him, or are you going to double him and risk those threes to be exposed? I just think Kidd and Luka are masterminds offensively, and they're just going to figure it out. Give me the Mavericks in 6. And if it ain't that, it's going to be the Suns in 7. There's no other way. Either Suns in 7 or Mavs in 6. There is no other outcome. It's not going to be Suns in 5. It's not going to be Suns in 4 like certain YouTube channels talking about it's going to be a sweep or 5. And what is it? Keyshawn Max and I forgot. They have this Jay Will. They're already writing off the Mavericks, talking about they want to see the Warriors and Suns in the Western Conference Finals. Mavs are an afterthought to everyone. But I think the Mavs ain't getting swept. Mavs ain't losing in 5. This has got to be Mavs in 6 or Suns in 7. It's my prediction. But I'm rolling with Mavs in 6. All right, Mavs fans, so y'all go ahead and let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think we're going to do in this series. Again, I'm a little biased. Shout out to Slightly Biased, because I am slightly biased on the Mavs being able to win this in 6 games. Go ahead, sound off in the comments below. All the Phoenix Suns fans, shout out to y'all. Hope this is a great series. We have history between both of these teams. They have faced off against each other in the playoffs several times when they had Nash and when we had Dirk. It was a great series back then. It's going to be a great series now. And I think the winner of this series goes on to go to the finals. Because I don't see the Warriors or the Grizzlies being able to beat either of these teams. Anyway, guys, y'all let me know in the comments below. Been your boy TGK. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one.